the Fed's trying to break the cycle of high prices. People had more money in their savings account than ever before. People are making more money. Everybody is doing well. We're in the market heyday.
People have more money in their savings account than ever before. People are making more money. Everybody is doing well. We're in the market heyday.
The painful time that I've been telling you is coming, it's actually here now. Thanks for joining me. Today we are going to talk about the ultimate boom and bust town. Almost as fabled as it was in the Wild West, Las Vegas is still taking fortunes and building fortunes for others like never before. This particular marketplace, if you are not paying attention over the past decade, was one of the most volatile, where its booms were incredibly rewarding and its busts were equally harmful to those as the market flattened itself out and prices fell to the bottom. But yet, folks, the reason why we find ourselves talking about this very peculiar marketplace is that Nevada is making trends again by leading the country in foreclosures yet a second time. Now, Nevada, along with a few other sand states in the 2000s, was leading the way in having a lot of homeowners go into harm's way. It seems this particular marketplace becomes ground zero for people taking out risky mortgages or people just borrowing more than they can afford. And ultimately, what we're seeing now is a pathway to much greater harm coming into 2024, and also some obvious early rewards. I think that this is a marketplace, if you're careful and you pay attention, you're going to find many of opportunity to buy in a thriving future marketplace. But I will tell you, as I look behind the scenes, when I noticed Nevada coming onto the radar yet again, I was absolutely stunned at the data there. I did not know just how bad this marketplace had gotten so suddenly. So let's take a look at what's going on in Las Vegas and look at exactly what's going on in this Midwestern marketplace. All right, folks, where did the story come from? Well, you can see October 17th and many news outlets followed suit talking about how foreclosures are on the upswing nationwide. They went into the fact that there's been a 28% surge in the third quarter of this year. And you had other outlets like Yahoo Finance consulting a whole bunch of individuals saying foreclosures are on the rise. Here's what the experts are saying it means for foreclosure market. And they're talking about the fact that foreclosures inevitably increase housing inventory. It could stabilize prices, which is code for crash them to some degree, bring them down, deflate them. There is the idea that the rental marketplace will shift. Why? Landlords stop paying mortgages. When that happens, there's a forced sale coming, usually based on the bank. Landlords typically, by the way, are a higher percentage bunch of foreclosed property because it's not easy to put a house with tenants in it on the market when you're in distress. It's just typically not a good combination. This happened in Las Vegas last decade, the last time the market crashed. Landlords in large were collecting rents and not paying the mortgage and using it as a personal stimulus. And then the tenants themselves found themselves foreclosed on. But as you could see here, we had the foreclosure activity rise in the third quarter. This, by the way, my friends, is now higher than it was in 2019 when we started coming to the coronavirus. When we actually had this pandemic take off, obviously there was a spike immediately as people went into default. Foreclosure filings started to take place, but then the government shut all of it down, okay? But now you see over time those moratoriums have ended, and now we see ourselves in a returning increase of foreclosures. And ultimately, folks, Nevada finds themselves out of the 50 states and the number one spot. It's ranked 32nd in population, but the Silver State has the highest foreclosure rate in August, with 1 in 2,000 homes going into foreclosure. A total of 1.2 million housing units. The state has 571 foreclosure filings. Now, the counties with the most foreclosures per housing unit were from highest to lowest: Clark County, which is obviously Las Vegas, Mineral, Humboldt, Elko, and Nye counties. So you had, hundreds of properties go into foreclosure, and this is 1 in every 2,000 homes. So as a per capita base of houses, the most foreclosures of any one state ended up being Nevada. Well, it caused me to look into how Nevada is doing. And this, my friends, is an interesting indicator because, one, we got to understand that as interest rates have pushed to the max, investors have left the marketplace. So investors are leaving because they don't need to put their money into a rental property. They can put it in the bank and make a guaranteed 5, and maybe we're seeing 6 and 7%, 8% soon on certificates of deposit. So when the cap rates to own residential rentals or even commercial properties is not holding up because the cost of the property is so high, people are going to get out of the market. So that's what's happened. Look at this. If you're a renter, you are saving nearly $800. You're saving over $700 a month to rent versus own same house in Nevada. So this is a buy versus rent calculator. It costs a person 40% more rather to own a house because the payment is so high. You can see that coming out of last year, there was a little bit of a reprieve in cost of owning a home because as home prices settled a little bit towards the end of last year, they lost that. I think prices probably gained a little. Now, Nevada did see a significant pullback in price, but their inventory is still very tight. So seeing some defaults, folks. Now listen. Even though they're 1 in 2,000 homes in default, literally behind and in trouble, okay? Now, these aren't massive numbers yet, okay? This is tantamount, when they say it's up by 30%, this is tantamount to me taking you to the mall and saying, all right, I'm going to give you $10 to spend at the mall today. Okay, that's today's foreclosure rate. You're like, I can't buy anything with that. That's not very much, right? The foreclosure rate is very low. If I say to you, don't worry, I will give you 30% more than your $10. It's still not very much, okay? So saying all that to say that the inventory going into foreclosure is not a massive amount. However, here is the problem. Look at the recession indicator for Nevada, okay? So Nevada, as you can see, was holding towards the end of 2019 a 4% unemployment rate, okay? Then COVID hits, they spike through the roof, and then coming into last year, they start to settle around 5.9%. You got to understand, folks, with Nevada right here, they're elevated to pre-COVID, okay? This is not normal. If I pull up many other markets throughout the country, Florida, for instance, might have been around 4% unemployment pre-COVID, but then it went through the floor. Like earlier this year, even we were at like 2.8%. Unemployment went way down, like overheated. Now, when all the markets overheat, people are making more money. Everyone's gainfully employed. Everybody is doing well. Houses are selling. People that are in houses can pay their bills. But that is starting to shift, and it's not just shifting in Nevada, it's shifting all around the country. Now, Nevada has a very elevated unemployment, meaning that even though the government borrowed all kinds of money and distributed that stimulus all over the planet, everybody and their brother got some cash, and look what happened. This was personal savings through those seasons, okay? So look at this. This is personal savings rate. Look at it. It went off the charts. People had more money in their savings account over 2020 and 2021 than ever before. Well, then after a while, that money disappears. So last year, we saw this slope down, and all of a sudden, everybody's housing prices started getting crushed because people didn't have money to spend. They weren't going out and buying houses. But lo and behold, look at this, consumer debt. Again, this is affecting people in Nevada. As the consumer debt continues to climb, it allows people to get by because people are having the stranglehold of the economy. We're now borrowed a record number on credit cards. So, the same deal. When you start to see a pattern of potential recession, Nevada is much, much closer to their recessionary line, okay? Because by the way, this is a Bureau of Statistics chart. You're going to see a bottom line, which is the average in Nevada, meaning they maintain, if you were to flatten this graph out, around what is the average? 6.7%. Well, it's right near the average now. And folks, listen, here's the danger spot. We're in the market heyday. I mean, we're starting to get into the hangover place of the market where everybody's got, oh man, the stimulus is giving me a headache. Prices are so high and interest rates are so high. And give me an aspirin. Like we're getting into that phase. But for the last 2-3 years, it was easy money everywhere, folks. Like stimulus and PPP and all this was supposed to actually give you the healthiest economy you'd ever seen. And Nevada narrowly got to average, just below the line. Okay. And folks, listen, this isn't good. This is horrible. And I was shocked when I saw it because I watch unemployment rates in many other metros. I don't stare at Las Vegas that much, but as I see them, they're on the floor. They're far below the average, which causes high market acceleration. You got to understand this, folks. Economy-wide, the entire marketplace is running on its fumes now. So you're having national employment climb, you're having national savings starting to bottom. By the way, folks, you see it, if I pull that graph again, it gets to a factor of 3, which right now it's like 3.9. That's when we had people so poor and so hurting. That's when you had an environment for the great collapse of the marketplace we saw in 2006, 7, 8, 9. That is now where we're heading. Our savings is starting to drop over the past 4 or 5 months. At the same time, you've got the marketplace suffering, maxing out credit cards. A lot of those consumer lines of credit are on these people's homes in Nevada, okay? So people are now using the house piggy bank to get by. And they're not necessarily doing wise things when things get tough. They're just in survival mode. So you borrow this money against your house. People are even making their payment on their house with their credit card, okay? At the same time, okay, folks, if you didn't watch this week, Bank of America CEO, Fortune magazine covered this. The Bank of America CEO said there's going to be some really painful times for America coming. By the way, this was said months ago, I believe. He just came out this week and said the painful time that I've been telling you is coming, it's actually here now. Like everybody's maxed their credit cards out. There's a ton of debt on both our country, and mind you, our country is borrowing at elevated interest rates. Right now we have our interest rates maxed out at 8% and probably going to go higher because our government isn't practicing austerity. Our country isn't practicing austerity. Like everybody's struggling. Prices are still high. The Fed's trying to break the cycle of high prices. But I got to tell you folks, the marketplace in real estate is not going to get healthier unless we actually see prices calm down, okay? Prices aren't going to calm down unless there's actually some reversal of the stimulus. Stimulus pumped cash, created irrational exuberance, irrational spending. There's a cause and effect. Now we're on the effect side, which unless our Federal Reserve steps in and starts pumping cash again, which will only raise prices higher, okay? The only way they can protect us from seeing real harm and real hammered prices. And ultimately, here's the thing, folks. If you track history, this is the truth in Nevada. This is why this is all dangerous. This is why we're likely turning on to 2024. You are going to see a potential cycle where people have higher unemployment in Nevada. It's already Las Vegas at 6% plus now, and the leaders there they're without answer on how to fix it, okay? But the economy is slowing down, okay? And Las Vegas is at the tip of the spear on slowness already. So now you're going into the challenges of the fact that all the states around Las Vegas, which are responsible for keeping Las Vegas pumping, okay? The economy of Las Vegas, a lot of the money in there comes from outside the state. And when those states start suffering, it's going to trickle even worse. Now, the opportunity that lies here is the fact that there's going to be people needing help in Las Vegas in 2024. Okay, this microcosm that we're starting to see, the smoke leading to fire, is the fact that people in 2024, all through that city, there's going to be people saying, I need to sell, my house is in shambles, it's an as-is sale, I've got equity, let's make a deal. So you're going to have opportunities to buy into the marketplace, but you got to be careful because with price correction, it's going to come rental correction. You're going to have a little bit more slack in both home prices and rental prices, and you need to buy with a buffer. And most of the sellers that you're going to go into in Nevada into 2024, the market's tight right now. It's the last gasp of air when you look at Las Vegas, and it'll be interesting to watch that marketplace go into the fall because right now price reductions are very low. People aren't reducing as much. You have no inventory right now because sellers are like hunkered down. Interest rates are too high. If you already own, you're not going anywhere. If you don't own, you're renting and you're probably not moving out of your rental for fear of another guy charging you more. It's like the marketplace is locked down, okay? That's what creates recession. No one's doing anything. It's stagnant. And so in the face of the marketplace kind of freezing up, the thing that's going to tip the cart over is defaults, okay? The thing that's going to tip Nevada's apple cart over is forced selling. People don't have the option to sit in place. They're either going to get foreclosed on and lose their equity, or they're going to put on the market and try to recapture some of their equity. So it'll be an interesting view to see what happens because as of right now, you've got the lock-in effect but you can see the underpinnings in that marketplace are absolutely clear. All right, everybody, let's take a look at the actual marketplace. Let me show you where things are actually really shifting, if there's any opportunity in this marketplace right now. When you see the blue areas, like you have Boulder City over here, you have East Side, Sunrise Mountain, North Vegas, there's a couple blue spots. Up in the Northwest, you see 89131's red. Looks like this is Summerlin, the Ridges. And then going south, you see some other areas in red. Henderson, 89052, 89012. These are prime, I think, Green Valley areas. These areas in red are experiencing a little more inventory than the rest, okay? So these areas that you see that are blue, if you are familiar with or looking at buying in, 89145, 144, down the middle near the airport, 89119, 89014. These areas are extremely tight on inventory, okay? Now, the things that you want to notice even in the rest of the marketplace is there is still not an alarming amount of inventory, but watch this. When we flip to this percentages you see here, for instance, that same area, 89131, it was red before, meaning it had a little bit more inventory compared to all the other zip codes. This area is experiencing very high price reduction. So out of 169 total inventory count, 56 of those properties have price cuts. That's 1 out of 3 listings in 89131. So anything red is a very high price cut category. I mean, sellers there are getting anxious. They start to see the house competing with them down the street, also not selling. And so these areas in red, like 89107, 89014, 89178, these particular areas, you know, you have pushing in the Henderson area, 89014 is pushing nearly 40% of the listings there, okay? Those areas are people that are going to have a motivated seller here and there. Now, the market at large is a tight inventory marketplace, yet the demand from the buyer side pool is starting to get so anemic that even with fewer homes for sale than last year, there's just an alarming amount of inactivity, which is starting to push these people. Now, you'd say, Jared, what's a number in a normal healthy market? Well, any of these numbers you see, like 89130, you can see this right here, right where the mouse, I'm gonna move my mouse out of the way, but 89130 has 16% price reduction, 89143, 16%. Most of these sellers are not having a hard time moving their house. 89123, Silverado Ranch, if I'm not mistaken. Memory serves, I haven't sold real estate here in 8 years, but these particular areas that are blue have very, very low price reduction. There's a tension in the market, or there's a stubborn seller. Sometimes these areas trend blue because a lot of the area has sellers that believe there's gold underneath their house and they will not reduce the price for anything. Interesting thing, take a look at the home ownership rate chart. Some of these areas like 89103, 89030. Now folks, pertinent to the discussion at hand was something that I just mentioned a moment ago, okay? I talked briefly about the fact that foreclosures are potentially going to increase throughout Las Vegas. Now take a look at this chart. What you're looking at is the percentage of mortgaged properties per zip code. When you start to see areas in Las Vegas where they're ahead of 65%, so 65, 70, 80% of all the homes in a given area are under a mortgage, that is going to be a place at very, very high risk of having issues. There's going to be a lot of people in those areas that are just going to have to escape, and they're going to have to sell the property at a price to get themselves out of a mortgage payment they cannot pay. Otherwise, they're going to forfeit their equity. But look at this. The outskirts of the area, for instance, Northwest, 83%, way high. I believe this is all newly constructed. I don't think this area was developed even when I left Vegas 8 years ago. But you have a lot of people coming in and buying with mortgages. North Las Vegas, 86%, incredibly high rates. Outside edge down here, Mountain's Edge, I think it's 89178, 83, 85%. These are incredibly high rates of mortgage activity. I would imagine a lot of this up here is new construction, which means there's going to be some chances that these people are not going to have enough equity to sell, and you might see some short frame turnover. You might see REOs there in the next 2 years, particularly in these areas. Now, you can see the older parts of Las Vegas, the central part of the market, very low percentage. So you got like 50%, 54%. By the way, if I flip to home ownership rates in these areas, look at how low these are actually homeowner owned versus the opposite up here. You say, Jared, what am I looking at? Well, these people are all tenants in a landlord property. So this area right here, 89030, we just looked at, these areas down the middle are very low homeowners. 1 out of 2 houses in some of these areas is a tenant versus a homeowner. So these are high tenant controlled areas where there's landlords, and a lot of them have paid cash. So even though these tend to be areas, the old side of Las Vegas, the last time the market cratered, there, we were selling houses here at the height of the market for 250,000 or 300,000. And then as the market crashed, as these all became bank owned, these areas ended up coming down to 50 grand. I mean, some of these, homes, look at them now, like 89030 is trending at $275,000 average price. Okay. These old side of town, 290, as opposite these areas up here, look, 89143, high mortgage rates, 428, 500 grand, and 89131. So the areas out here with the high percentage of mortgages, they're bigger numbers. There's a lot of lent money. These people down here, a lot of these people bought these houses for 150 grand and they just paid all cash for them. So there's going to be a lot less risk of these areas getting run down, which is good, because if you find some of these older houses, my thinking is, as I'm looking at this chart, is if I'm looking at these older parts of town, they're concrete block constructed homes. A lot of them are really old, yes, but they're not huge houses. They're not hard to fix. You can rent them out. The area is obviously overwhelmed with rental property, but some of these older homes, when people get in hard times, the few people that do have mortgages are going to end up needing help to get out. And then you're not going to have, in all likelihood, a high volume of other bank owns and things of that nature popping up and depressing prices as badly. Okay. This is crazy appreciation though. So like, don't get me wrong, less appealing areas, these are not high ownership rates. They're less appealing. So when people absolutely are motivated and have to sell, you could see these areas get hit pretty hard. Even the lack of distressed property. I mean, if I can now get a house up here, if this $500,000 average in a nicer area, drops quite a bit, or some of these areas even here, like 89031 North Las Vegas is 389, and this is 275. If this starts to come down and get closer to 275, I'm not going to live in the older area. I'm going to live in the newer area. It's the neighbors around that end up affecting your own direct value. So 275 is going to be a hard number to hold in these old neighborhoods, even with lowered foreclosure. So saying all that to say this, if you are starting to invest in these areas, make sure you buy it right. Like, make sure you buy Vegas right, because the economic turmoil is there. If you look at trends over time, anytime the economic indicators get negative, get terrible, unemployment goes up, mortgage defaults go right with it. And again, it can be secondary mortgage types. It can be the pool loan. It can be the home equity line of credit, which a lot of these people borrowed. And when they can't handle it, they got to sell. When mortgage demand is really low because interest rates get 8%, 8.5%, they go even higher, then you're going to see a lot of shifting sand in these areas. So some of these areas that you've not been able to afford are going to make some adjustments. I cannot believe some of the average prices here. Like Summerlin, 89134 is average price is $455. 89144 is $475. I just feel like these should be higher numbers. I'm blown away. And again, the areas are what they are. I mean, some of these areas, there's a lot of larger lot acreages and stuff in 89131, but it's amazing that the difference between 89031 in North Vegas is 390 versus some of these areas of the West. They've been highly desirable. I mean, I haven't been there in 8 years. I don't know if Summerlin is running down. Did the HOA stop taking care of the lawns there? I don't know. Meaning the community landscape and all that stuff. If there's a sign that there's trouble, is a sign that in a marketplace, real estate professionals are leaving the industry in Nevada in record numbers, okay? To give you an explanation of this, the entire marketplace of realtors, they should be leaving in droves, but they're not, okay? So realtors doesn't cost a whole lot to get your real estate license. It's very easy. So as people are quitting the business, there's always people replacing them, because the bar of entry for real estate is like, do you have a pulse? You don't have to know very much, get in the business. And then once people get in the business in a bad market, they realize that they've arrived and basically the whole world is charging them money to exist. And then they quit again. So like the recidivism rate of real estate is very high. But here's the deal. The entire economy of membership in the Realtors Board for the US is around 1.5 million. It's up 1% over last year. However, in Nevada, down around 5%. So there's a five-fold swing in the economy of real estate in Nevada versus the other. And I would tell you, nationally, there's 12%, according to Fannie Mae, 12% of loan officers have quit the business. I'd bet if you look in Nevada, that number is probably double or triple. So you probably have 20, 30% of loan officers are out. And the big running joke from my friends in Nevada is that realtors have turned into solar sales professionals. Good on you. Listen, for you to stand around as a realtor when there's nothing to do and struggle and let people sell you coaching to say, have faith, believe in yourself, and you'll magically make business appear. Good for you. If your business is slow, go sell something else. But that's it for now. Listen, if you are around the Nevada economy or if you're interested in investing in it next year, what are your thoughts about what's coming for the market? If my friends that are in real estate there, tell me your story. What are you seeing in the marketplace? I would imagine it's tight. I would imagine there's little going on. But if you're a homeowner there, plan accordingly. Don't take my advice as investment advice, but be aware of what's happening and plan accordingly. Make sure you are completely financially stable coming into what's coming in relation to how much your housing costs are with the market the way it is. That's it for now. If you enjoyed the video at this point, shoot a comment below. One of the best ways you can thank me, drop a comment. If you want more market information, residential, nearly on the daily, I hope, subscribe to the channel. As always, give the video a like. We'll see you on the next one.